Hello everybody, myself Jyoti and this is third lecture of wave nature of particles and we are going to talk about concept of matter waves applied to the Bohr atom. So according to Bohr, an electron in an atom moves in a closed circular orbit around the nucleus and it is restricted to move only in certain stable allowed orbits without radiating energy. Bohr postulated that the angular momentum of the electron in any of the allowed orbits is an integral multiple of h cross. So these are called as Bohr's postulates. So we know that h cross equals to h upon 2 pi. So if m is the mass of the electron moving with velocity v in an orbit of radius r, then its angular momentum is given by L equals to mvr. See, we know that L equals to r cross p. P is mv and we are taking simple product, so we get L equals to mvr. So you have to remember this, angular momentum. Angular momentum, it is r multiplied by linear momentum. Linear momentum is mv. So that is how I am writing L equals to mvr. So according to Bohr's postulate, mvr, that is the angular momentum, it is integral multiple of h cross. So mvr, that is the angular momentum, it is an integral multiple of h cross, that is nh cross. H cross, it is h upon 2 pi. So I can write mvr equals to nh upon 2 pi, where n is an integer. It can take up values 1, 2, 3, so on, and that is called as principal quantum number. Let lambda be the de Broglie wavelength associated with the electron, then lambda equals to h upon p, or for p we can substitute mv, so we will get h upon mv. So we have equation 1, we have equation 2, that is mv equals to h by lambda, which we have calculated using de Broglie hypothesis, and so substituting for mv from equation 2 into equation 1, we will get 2 pi r equals to n lambda. Okay, so mv की value I am substituting and I will get this 2 pi r equals to n lambda. What is 2 pi r? 2 pi r, it is the circumference. Yes, it is the value of circumference. To 2 pi r is the length of the orbit of the electron, and equation 3 shows that an electron can circle a nucleus without radiating energy only if its orbit contains an integral number of de Broglie wavelengths. This is the 2 pi r, it is the length of the orbit of electron, and n lambda, it is the integral multiple of de Broglie wavelength. Okay, so we are using the concept of matter waves to the Bohr atom. So in this situation, a wave starting from a point is in phase with itself, and at that point after one or more complete revolutions, the waves which have gone around 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on times reinforce one another, so that a standing wave is produced in the orbit. I will show you figure. See, it will be like this. So this is the first wave. This the one which is not a dotted line, that represents the when it revolved first time, and second time it again does the same thing. So we can show it with the dotted line, and you can see loops like that of these stationary waves are formed over here. Okay, so if a fractional number of wavelengths is placed around the orbit, destructive interference will occur as the wave travels around the orbit and the vibrations will die out rapidly. The electron can traverse an orbit in either direction. Okay, so it should be noted that the situation which is over here, which we have applied to the Bohr atom, it is very similar to the stationary waves formed in a string and then the ends of the string joined to form a circular loop. So let us now experimentally verify de Broglie waves. So we can experimentally verify de Broglie waves using two experiments. One is Thomson's experiment, second is Davisson-Germer experiment. So what is Thomson's experiment? So in case of Thomson's experiment, we show the wave nature of particles by using the concept of diffraction. G.P. Thomson demonstrated the diffraction of an electron beam by a thin metal foil or polycrystalline films, thereby providing a proof of de Broglie hypothesis. So this is the experimental arrangement for the Thomson's experiment. We have where we have a thin electron beam which is passing through two slits. Then it is made to fall on a polycrystalline material, and on the fluorescent screen we get the diffraction pattern. So electrons from a heated filament are accelerated through a potential difference. A collimated beam of sufficiently energetic electrons is then passed through a thin film of a polycrystalline material. The diffracted rays are received on a photographic plate or a fluorescent screen, and a high degree of vacuum is maintained in the apparatus, and a diffraction pattern which consists of concentric rings is observed on the screen. Now if we check this, it is this diffraction pattern, it is very similar to the one executed by X-rays when diffracted by a powdered crystalline material, and this proves that electrons behaves like waves in this experiment, and thereby providing the existence of de Broglie waves. So when we are talking about electron, we are talking about a particle, but when we are talking about diffraction, it is the property of wave. And here in this experiment we found that electron, that is particle, showing diffraction, that is wave property, that means that shows wave nature of particles. Now here in this particular experiment, very important question is, how can one be sure that whatever diffraction pattern we are getting on the screen, it is due to diffracted electrons and not because of the secondary X-rays, because secondary X-rays are also emitted. So when the electron beam hits the polycrystalline film, a magnetic field is applied to the incident beam, and it is observed that when you apply magnetic field, the whole diffraction pattern shifts. With X-rays, the shift in diffraction pattern is not expected. Also, if we remove the film, the diffraction pattern disappears. That shows that whatever diffraction pattern we are getting over here, it is not because of the secondary X-rays, but it is purely because of the electrons. So that shows that electrons behaving as waves, and electrons showing the wave property, that is the we are proving the wave nature of particles. Now second important experiment which demonstrate dual nature of particles, that is Davison-Germer experiment. And this experiment, it is also based on the diffraction of electrons by suitable crystals. So this is the experimental arrangement for the Davison-Germer experiment, where we have a filament which is heated, and then there is a slit, and the beam, it is made to, the electron beam, it is made to fall on a nickel crystal, and the scattered beam, it is collected by the electron detector. Okay, so let's talk about the experimental arrangement. The electrons are produced by thermionic emission from a tungsten filament. They are accelerated by a potential difference V applied between the filament and the plate, and the plate has a small opening, or you can say slit. So a collimated beam of electrons, each having energy E into V, emerges from the slit, and this energy EV can be varied by varying the value of applied potential V. Now the electron beam is then made incident on the target T. Target is nothing but the nickel crystal over here, large single crystal of nickel. At normal incidence, the electrons are scattered in all directions by the atoms of the crystal. The intensity of the electron beam scattered in any given direction is determined by an electron detector. The detector can be rotated so as to measure the intensity of the scattered beam for various angles of scattering. Phi. Phi is the angle between the incident beam and the scattered beam, and it is also called as the co-latitude angle. So for a given accelerating voltage V, we note down the intensity of scattered electrons for various phi. We repeat the experiment for different accelerating voltages, and we get graphs like this. So here you can see that initially the graph is just a curve, then we get at 44 volt we get a slight spur, at 48 volt the spur increases, at 54 volt and angle of scattering 50 degree the spur it's maximum, and again for higher accelerating potential it disappears. So at 68 volt it is diminishes. So figure shows that the graph is a smooth curve at 40 volt. As V increased a slight spur is observed on the curve. This spur increases with V, reaches its pronounced maximum at V equals to 54 volt and phi equals to 50 degree. On increasing V further, the spur diminishes and becomes insignificant at about 68 volt. The pronounced peak at 54 volt and phi equals to 50 degrees shows that constructive interference of the electron waves from the regularly spaced atoms of nickel crystal has occurred. Are the results in agreement with the results of X-ray diffraction by crystals? To find out the answer, we are going to we are going to find out the value of wavelength of de Broglie wave using de Broglie hypothesis and using Bragg's formula. So let us apply de Broglie hypothesis. If we use de Broglie hypothesis, here we have V equals to 54 volt. We will use this formula, lambda equals to h upon root 2m EV. So just substitute the value of h, mass of electron, charge on electron, accelerating potential, that is 54 volt, and here we get the value 1.66 angstrom. And if you use the Bragg's formula, phi is 50 degree, and we have to use this formula, lambda equals to d sine phi. We are assuming n equals to 1, that is the first order spectrum. So for nickel crystal, we have d, it is 2.15 angstrom, and when we will substitute all these values, we get lambda equals to 1.65 angstrom, which is in a very good agreement with the value which we have calculated using de Broglie hypothesis. So the excellent agreement between the two results confirms the de Broglie postulates of matter waves. Thank you so much.